The 207s have a very firm, very confident low end that initially really blew my mind when I first heard them.
I'm drowning my sorrows and burdens away.
I'm the chief engineer here at Sear Sound in New York City. We are the oldest surviving studio in New York. Walter founded this place in 1963. And it's gone through a few generations of different sizes and whatnot, but it's still here, it's still going, and still very successful. Some of my favorite projects and artists that I've gotten to be a part of would be with Yoko Ono, Fleet Foxes, Paul Simon. I did a record with Robert Randolph and the Family Band. Got to do a record with Sigur Rós, who I was a huge fan of at the time, still am. A lot of jazz. I get to work with some of the best musicians in the jazz world. Dhafar Youssef, Jose James, Chris Potter, Dave Holland, Zakir Hussain. I've done, I think, 4 records with Kurt Elling, 2 records with Marcus Miller, 2 with Ben Williams, a brilliant young bassist. Jesmea Horn, who was nominated for a Grammy this past year. Christian Scott, Gerald Clayton, Eric Harland. A personal hero of mine, I was a trombonist, is Steve Turre, and another trombone player, Steve Davis. And then projects with Sean Lennon, Andrew Bird, Zach Brown. And thousands more. It's been great. It's been a great career. I think, one of the most important parts of a perfect session that I think gets overlooked a lot is accomplishing what you came to the studio to accomplish in the limited time that's available. Studio budgets are low lately. So we have a lot of work to do in a very short period of time. So for me, when the client, the musicians leave feeling like they accomplished something special and had the time to do that, I think that is the sign of a perfect session. There's a lot of magic that people are always looking for, and the perfect sounds. Everybody has to have everything sound so incredible, and I want all of that too, but if you don't get everything done, then nobody gets to hear any of that perfection. I need to have a speaker that I know will translate well to other systems, while also delivering on all of the details, good and bad, so I can make quick and accurate decisions. We sit in front of these speakers for sometimes 10 to 16 hours, sometimes even longer. And so listening loud and listening to bright and harsh speakers becomes very fatiguing very quickly. So with the EVEs, and specifically I think the ribbon tweeters, I can listen for very long periods of time without feeling fatigued. And with the balance that I get from the EVEs throughout the frequency response, I can listen quieter on the EVEs and know that I'm not losing out on low end. The low end still translates. Low end still translates well at lower volumes, which I find is very difficult to find in other speakers. It's very common for me to work at a quieter level all day on a pair of speakers and then turn everything up and find out that I have way too much bass in the mix, way too much low end. With the EVEs, I don't have that problem. No, usually very average to quiet. I try not to push too hard. When the musicians come in to listen back, I'll turn the speakers up and everybody wants to hear it loud. But when I'm sitting there in front of them all day, I want to conserve my ears as much as possible. but I also really need to hear all of the detail very clearly. When I switched to the 207s, I had an initial adjustment period to the ribbon tweeters, as I'd, not been used to them. But I found very quickly that I was hearing details that were not as obvious in a lot of other speakers. It helped me find and solve problems much quicker. And again, with the ribbon tweeter, I don't feel fatigued nearly as quickly as with a lot of other speakers. It's allowed me to work longer hours and still trust my ears and still count on what I was hearing. With the 307s, that added woofer, this allows the speakers to reach down a little bit deeper, a little bit, hear the low end a little more clear, and a little more, gives it a little more separation between the low and low mids. That gives me a little more confidence in what I'm recording and what I'm mixing. The 207s have a very firm, very confident low end that initially really blew my mind when I first heard them. But the 307s just have that little edge. I haven't had to. With the EVEs, I've been very confident in the way things translate, and I've learned them very well. I do check on headphones. I have a nice pair of Grado headphones that I rely on, and once in a while, when I'm traveling to and from work, I double check everything on my earbuds, my little Apple earbuds, and make sure it all translates that way. But I am very confident with the EVEs, and it's shown in all the mastering that's been done on my mixes, where mastering engineers are constantly complimenting that they have used very little, if any, EQ. And I can definitely give credit to the EVEs for that. I've never owned one. And we don't have any here. So though I am very curious and would love to check out an EVE subwoofer combined with these 307s, I just haven't done it yet. But I'm curious. Yeah, there have been quite a few that I've really enjoyed. Most recently, Paul Simon's new record, In the Blue Light. I was fortunate enough to track 3, maybe 4 songs on that record. Beautiful project. Kurt Elling's newest record, The Questions, tracked and mixed it entirely here. And that, another beautiful record, incredible musicianship. And another one that was released recently, Marcus Miller's Laid Back. Marcus is one of the most fun and educational musicians I've ever worked with. I love working on his records. As far as stuff that's coming, I was fortunate enough to get to mix another record for Camila Meza. She just got signed to Sony. It's a gorgeous record with percussion, drums, bass, keys. She's a brilliant singer, songwriter, guitarist, and full string section. I mean, gorgeous record. I'm very excited about that. Carrie-Ann Harmon. There's a record I got to mix for Carrie-Ann Harmon. I did a little recording on that is the CD's been in my car for years. It's just always in there. My wife listens to it daily. I listen to it daily. Great experience. The Fleet Foxes record that just recently came out. The Sigur Rós record I got to work on. It's been quite a few years since that. Is still stands out in my mind as just an incredible experience with the band, with Flood, the producer, and more than anything, because I was pretty young when I got to work on that, I learned so much on that record. So that one's very special to me.
I need you, Lord. I'm so tired